All right, how's everyone doing today?
Good.
So we all got our nice floor system on now. It's all sheeted, all nice. Framing's all squared up, good to go. So you guys had an opportunity to square the building off of your sills if you messed up the foundation layout, right? And then you had another opportunity to square up your floor framing. You guys have one more opportunity to re-square this house, and we want this part to be perfect. So we're gonna start with laying out the wall framing. Everyone here has a set of plans, so when we're talking about like plans or elevations, what do you think you're gonna wanna look at for a view of where the walls go?
Main floor plan?
Main floor plan. So the keyword there is plan view. Anytime you see a plan in your drawing title, you know that it's from overhead, you know it's what you're looking for. You're not gonna look in a plan view for footing depths. You know you're gonna wanna be on an elevation view to see from the side. So in this case, we're only building a one-story house, so you have a main floor plan. So that shows you where all the walls are. I'll start by drawing the house. I'm gonna try to draw this house here that we're standing in. So it looks a little something like that, right? Most efficient way to do this, what size is our wall framing? 2x4, so we're using 2x4s all around. Here in Ontario, the actual code for exterior is a minimum 2x6 in order to get that R value on a wall. That's plain and simple. That's something I'm sure Jake's probably covered with you in the past. So what I want us to do to start is this very back wall. So if you're in the house over there, it's going to be flipped. So this drawing is more pertaining to this one directly. Mark out a line here that indicates the edge of your plate. Why do you think it would be a bad idea to square off of this edge right now? I know you guys can cut pretty straight and the manufacturers are pretty good with their plywood, but it's just not as accurate to take a layout line off of here, off of the tongue on the sheeting. So I want you to mark 3.5 inches in here, 3.5 inches in there, and snap a nice line. So good chalk line that can strike a nice line. Don't test it out on the floor. Make sure you test it on something else. Get a good snapping chalk line. I can't stress that enough. I see it all the time. People will snap a line and it'll just look like a smudge or a big blob of chalk on the floor. Like, you can't do layout like that. So I want this layout to be very accurate. When we're squaring the walls, I'm looking for a 16th accuracy on square. That is far exceeding what you're ever gonna do out there if you get to frame walls. So I want to be above and beyond. That way when you go to the job site and your foreman says he's happy with a 1/4 inch, you're like, right on. But 16th square is immensely accurate for what we're doing here, rough framing. So you have a 3.5 inch line there. That's gonna be our baseline where we start to square our partition walls. From there, you're gonna measure along that line. I'll put a dimension here. So 3.5 inches, just the thickness of the lumber. That's all that is. Offset line. From the edge of your building, this way, where do your partition walls land?
8 feet.
8 feet. On center. So are you gonna lay the edge of your plate to that line? No. So what I want you to do is mark 8 feet. You might land something like that and like that. 8 feet, 8 feet. But I want you to actually snap your lines on the edges of the plates. So what are you gonna measure over from that center line? 1 3/4. Exactly. So half the thickness of your wall plates, which is 3.5 inches. So 3.5 inches divided by 2, 1 3/4. So off of that line, I'll switch the colors now. Go to red. Put a mark 1 3/4 over. So that is key right there. We have 8 feet already to there. So now we can do Pythagorean theorem, or better known as 3-4-5 method, if algebra scares you. most people get scared when they hear algebra, and then they're like, we know how to do 3, 4, 5 though. Well, technically it's algebra. You're solving for an unknown letter in an equation. So you're gonna do 3, 4, 5 to perfectly square these walls going that way. Same thing over here, from that 8 feet, measure over 1 3/4 inches. And perfectly squared line that way. It's important that they all go off the baseline. Don't take your measuring tape, I don't want to catch anybody doing this and just pulling 8 feet from this end of the building, okay? Even though it could coincidentally work out to a pretty square, I want us to learn this method because it's far more important. So, starting with a baseline, perfectly square lines over. Any questions on any of that so far? Pretty straightforward. Your bump out here also has some framing on it, right? So you guys, you can split up into groups. All of your openings as well. So we have all the openings along here that you got to measure out. The doors that go through the building. Is there any exterior doors on this house? I sure hope so.
Yeah.
And where are those located? What's our dimensions for those? 2'8" from which wall? If I was looking for the door that's on here, where would I draw it in? So 4 foot to the center of the door? Like that? And then you have the opening size, it should say in there, correct? 2'8". So 1'4" from that center line to there. I'll leave the whiteboard somewhere where we can see it. $1'4". So is every opening the same size? I don't think so, right? I think there's one that's bigger. The one in the actual bump out over here. Is it not bigger?
No, it's 2'8".
2'8" for all of them?
Yeah. For all
Okay,
doors.
I'm mistaken. All right. So for the layout, that's pretty much what we're tackling there. This wall over here, same idea. We're gonna lay out a plate, exterior plates. This wall here, you can also check for square off of these plates. So both groups, however you divide yourself up, probably want to work in like 2 teams. Can handle the major part of the house and the minor part of the house. And bump out. Lay out all your doors. Make that all real nice. No questions? Everybody learned something? All right. That's pretty much all I got for that, for the wall layout.